Two, proposed operating and capital budget. Additionally, we have minutes for approval. At this time, I'd like to recognize Mark Watson for comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this time, I'd like to call Mr. Brian Matthews up to the podium to present you with the FY 2022 budget overview for the Water and Sewer District.
Good evening, Chairman and Board of Governors. What you have here tonight is the Water and Sewer District budget. This should be very similar to what the Board of Commissioners saw the other night. I just want to go through some highlights here. Obviously, the Public Works budget is an enterprise fund, so the rate model has to generate enough revenue to cover all the expenditures. We created the Water and Sewer District in 2017. There are interfund transfers that have to be made between Public Works enterprise as well as the district. That does complicate the accounting matters a little bit. So when you go through this, there may be some items that are interfund transfers. We'll be happy to try and answer those questions, but they do create a little bit of complication. Just so to get really to the numbers, there's a $72.8 million in revenue anticipated, $60.6 million in expenses. We do also have where we're going to ask the board to consider adoption of miscellaneous rates and fees. These are not the rates for your water and sewer district. Those will come at a later time. These are miscellaneous and fees that we have. We're going to ask for you to consider adoption of those. We would ask that that would be effective as of October 1st. Gives us some time to be able to get that information out to the public, get all that set up. It would generate some additional revenue. There are some capital projects that are a part of the budget: 12 Mile Creek expansion, 853 West construction, the Yadkin distribution system, which also includes that line that runs in between Marshall and Wingate, the transmission line, Crooked Creek interceptor improvements, and the short line extension program, as well as our replacement and renewal program. As I pointed out earlier today, we're talking about the district. That's this line right here. The operating budget is the operating budget for the Public Works enterprise. They do work together, but the district has to adopt, it has to have a budget specifically. This is your projected revenue for the district, $72.08 million. Here's your expenses as shown for the district as well. You'll notice that the total is 94, and that's because the operating expenses from Public Works as well as the operating expenses for the district have to combine, as well as the operating revenue for the district and the operations have to combine. That gives you that 94 million. But for the district specifically, what you're going to be asked is the 72 million for revenue, 72 million for total expenses. That's because of those interfund transfers. That's why it makes it complicated. But that is the number that's actually you're going to have as far as your adoption. Some highlights. We do anticipate that our service charges will be up by 8.7% in FY21. Total revenues will be up by a little over 8%. We did see a reduction in our operating and personnel costs, about 6.8% reduction, and our operating capital. That is not capital such as new plants or new lines. That's capital like trucks, those types of vehicles. That did go up by 58%, but that's because we had a very low number in past years. We're anticipating we have more equipment we have to purchase this year. And then our debt service payment also went up, and that's in a large in part due to Yadkin and some of the other things that we have coming online. The miscellaneous rates and fees, I want to talk about that for a minute. We did present some information to you back in April. We explained to you that we had not done an adjustment of those in 25 years. That's a long time that we've not had an adjustment to our expenses that we have to charge to recoup for the things that we do. We're going to be asking that the board consider a 50% increase from what they are now to what you would be adopting for them to take effect in October, if you do make that decision. And then we'd come back to you at a later date for an additional increase to go up to the recommended amount for each one of those items. And I can go over that here in just a little bit with you. So this is actually the rate of what they would generate as far as anticipated revenue if you went up by 50%. So you see that you've got the submitted budget, you've got the proposed budget, you would have some increases for your rates and fees if you were to actually increase that by 50%. This future proposed revenue, that's if we come back to the board and ask you to go to the additional 50% increase for those fees to go to what is recommended for that. But this would be for FY22. These would be the proposed revenues that we would generate from those rates and fees. And as you can see, that generates approximately another $880,000 over the original budget that was shown for FY22.
Brian, can you go back and, do you have, this is your proposed fees that went up 50%?
Yeah, and what I'll do, I think what you're asking is, if you've got a
What were
handout, you've got a handout right here, and in that handout, unfortunately, I just don't have it on the screen, that actually goes through each one of the rates and fees, and it gives you what it is currently. It tells you what we're asking for you to go to for FY22, and then it's also showing what you would go to in a future year. And so what you would see here, I'll just
That's what I'm
start
looking
with.
for, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. With late payment fee, I'll just start with that one. I won't go through them all, but I'll hamper any questions like late payment fee. Currently, our late payment fee is $25. It is recommended that you really should go up to a total of that $75 total. Is that right?
The account setup fee is $25, that's the first one.
You meant, yeah, I lost it, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the late payment penalty is not changed.
Oh, that's not changed. I'm sorry. I misunderstood that one. So where's the one that's asked to change? Reconnection fee. Let's talk about that one. Hours of reconnection fee. There's zero in there right now. We don't charge for that. It's recommended that the total at some point in time be $125. We're asking that you would actually increase that to $62.50. That's an example of what we're doing. So the amount that shows for future is the proposed amount that you would need to be at some point in the future to recoup our cost. We're actually asking that you sort of do this over time. So you do 50% this year, and hopefully we'll come back in the next year and ask for an additional 50%, depending on what the board's, what your appetite is
So
for
your
that.
future fee is pretty much what it costs us to do the business?
That's correct,
That's
yes,
where
sir.
we're just staging it so it's not such an impact at one time.
That's correct, yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
So like a person who has their water disconnected, probably because they can't pay the bill, whether they're laid off or whether they're senior citizen or whatever. So we don't charge them anything right now to go back and connect them back up to the system where they pay.
No, there is a disconnect fee. There is a disconnect fee.
But it's the reconnect fee that we don't charge?
What you're asking is that one example I gave you was hours after. So let's see, if you're after hours.
Oh, so
After
like,
hours.
so that's like an emergency.
Absolutely.
Come do it after 8 o'clock at night.
Weekends, it might be a late request that is not our normal time that we do
But this
business.
is not meaning that a senior citizen who couldn't pay their bill and they're late and they get it disconnected, that they gotta pay a fee on top of that to get it reconnected.
Now, if you are disconnected, I want you to understand that. It doesn't matter what age you are or what your income is. When you are disconnected, you
No,
will
not
pay a
them calling
disconnect
and saying, I
fee.
want a disconnection.
Right.
Them calling and saying, hey, I need my water cut back on, I paid my bill.
That is not part of the after hours, no,
Okay.
sir. That's not,
So
that
that
was
would
just an
still be-
example I wanted to give you.
That would still be free for them to go out there and cut their water back on.
It's still they pay their normal cost, that there's no additional cost for
Okay.
that. So I can go over other examples, but it's a long sheet. We're not asking you to take action on the rates and fees tonight. So this is information for you to think about. If you have questions about it, we'll be happy to go over it in more detail. As I stated before, we're not going to be asking the board to adopt rates for your water and sewer program until later in the calendar year. We'll come to you with that information for you to discuss. This is really the budget for the water and sewer district and the miscellaneous fees and those rates associated with those fees, not water and sewer rates, but those rates associated with those minor fee programs. That's what this is, and we'll be asking you to consider adoption of that at your later meeting in June.
What's the new construction unit?
Say that again?
What is the new construction unit on this slide?
New construction.
Very bottom.
Oh, the reorganization? You're talking about the very last one right
Right.
here, it says reorganization of engineering division?
Right.
So currently, what we have at our engineering division is we have what's it, new development, and then there's the construction inspectors are all part of that. What we'd like to do is split that out so the construction inspectors have their own essential area, and we'd have someone that oversees that specifically that can manage that, as opposed to new development having to manage that.
Right, but what's the construction unit? What are they building?
All that means is that that group is responsible for the plan review for new construction. It doesn't mean we're building anything, it means we're reviewing all new construction plans. That's what that means. Sorry, I didn't understand what you were asking.
Approximately how much of the $60.6 million in expenses is depreciation expense?
I will see you. Zero.
We do not budget for depreciation.
No, zero? Okay.
It's a GAAP accounting entry that shows up in your financial statements.
Okay, thank you.
I'm at the questions section, so you have more questions.
Questions? Thank you, Brian.
All right, thank you very much.
Nobody signed it.
Is that everything?
Yeah, just into the public hearing.
Just open the public hearing and close
With
it.
that, we'll open the public hearing. We have no one signed up to participate. Is there anyone that missed the opportunity to sign up? If not, then we'll close the public hearing. That's it.
We have some minutes.
Okay.
That's okay. There's minutes
Okay.
of the meeting of last year, June 15th, 2020, because we have not met again.
Okay, does everyone have copies of the minutes?
They were emailed to you.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Motion to approve.
Okay, have a motion to approve. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, well, that takes care of it. Then I'll make a motion to close the Board of Governors special meeting. All in favor? Aye.